Emma's hands trembled, not from Seattle's drizzle, but from dread of another crowded community barbecue. Then a stranger in a squid print apron tossed her a lump of clay. "Spin it into something ugly," she winked. 45. Emma hadn't touched a wheel since middle school, but this soggy Wednesday demanded rebellion. She pressed palms into cool earth, centrifugal force shaking loose years of stiff smiles. Mud splattered her blouse. Laughter bubbled up. By sunset, her lopsided vase held more courage than perfection ever could. Exhibition sign. Emma's hands trembled, not from Seattle's drizzle, but from that old, gnawing dread of being seen. 45 years of hiding behind grocery lists and half-smiles had left her with a spine stiff as unbaked clay. Yet here she stood, toes curling in paint-splattered sneakers, staring down a pottery wheel like it might bite. Community center vibes hummed around her. Laughter from a weekend barbecue drifting through open windows, someone's kid shrieking over burnt hot dogs. Woman exhaled. Clay was forgiving, her instructor had said. No right answers, just messy tries. She pressed shaky palms into cool, damp earth, letting wheels spin her fear into something malleable. Memory surfaced. Her mother's hands shaping dough, flour dusting kitchen like first snow. Back then, Creator had believed creating required permission. Now, each wobbling vase, she coaxed from lump to form chipped away that lie. By midsummer, her shelves groaned with lopsided mugs, their imperfections proof she'd shown up anyway. Then came exhibition notice, tacked beside a flyer for Pickleball League.
Submit. Share. Here gut clenched.
But courage, she'd learned, wasn't absence of fear. It was showing up with clay under your nails and a joke about your abstract, teapot ready. Opening night, strangers lingered by her pieces, fingers tracing grooves left by her hands. No one saw a woman who once flinched her own shadow. They saw art. Seattle's gray skies couldn't dampen warmth spreading through her. Emma grinned, wiping glaze from her wrist. Turns out, healing wasn't about perfection. It was about spinning your chaos into something solid enough to hold. Emma's hands trembled, not from Seattle's drizzle, but from that familiar squeeze in her chest whenever crowds thickened. 45 years of dodging small talk, of folding into herself like clay left too long in open air. Yet here she stood, outside a sunlit storefront where a spinning wheel hummed behind fogged glass. A flyer clung to her damp sleeve, beginner pottery, no experience needed. Inside, earthy scents wrapped around her, wet clay, sawdust, something like possibility. A woman with silver-streaked curls and forearms dusted in terracotta grinned. No pity in her gaze, just a quiet Me Too vibe. She fumbled her first attempt, fingers pressing too hard, sending a lopsided bowl slopping onto wheel's edge. Laughter bubbled up instead of shame. Weeks blurred into coiled handles and glazes that never dried right. Woman learned to lean into wobbles, to let imperfections stay. Clay didn't judge shaky hands. It demanded patience, not perfection. Community center BBQs became less about hiding near deviled eggs and more about tracing thumbprints along a mug's rim while neighbors chattered. Then came exhibition notice, pinned beside kiln schedules. Her mentor nudged her forward, just one piece. Emma's stomach nodded. But Clay had taught her this. Collapse was part of shaping. That evening, she centered a fresh lump on wheel, palms remembering their rhythm. Opening night buzzed with strangers. Emma's vase sat among sleek sculptures, its uneven ridges catching light like whispered secrets. A woman paused, ran fingers over grooves. Feels alive, she murmured. Emma exhaled. Maybe she did too. Will had spun her toward something softer. Not fear's sharp edges, but quiet thrill of mud and motion. Hands steady now, she reached for another lump. Ready. Emma's hands trembled, not from Seattle's drizzle, but from that familiar squeeze in her chest, one that made grocery checkouts feel like interrogations. 45 years of life, yet small talk still left her palms slick. But clay? Clay didn't judge. A lump of it sat before her now, cool and forgiving, as she pressed shaky fingers into its center. Her first attempts had been disasters, lopsided bowls, collapsed vases, one particularly tragic mug that resembled a deflated balloon. But each failure taught her something. Clay demanded patience, not perfection. It was stubborn, just like her. She'd grind her teeth, wipe gritty hands on her apron, and start again. Community BBQs had always been her nemesis. Too many voices, too many eyes. But pottery class? Different vibes. Here, focus was on spinning wheels, not social cues. No one cared if she fumbled words. They were too busy wrestling their own creations into existence. Over weeks, her shoulders loosened. She noticed other struggles too. College kid whose vase cracked, retiree who kept overworking his glaze. Imperfection was point. Then came exhibition flyer. Local artists showcase. Her stomach lurched. Showing her work meant eyes, questions, attention. But that stubborn push, same one that made her restart collapsed pots, whispered, "Try." Emma selected 3 pieces: a bowl with uneven ridges, her first success, a vase with a faint thumbprint, a happy accident, and a lopsided cup, kept for humor. Setting them on display table, she braced for scrutiny. Instead, a woman paused, tracing bowl's grooves. "Feels alive," she murmured. No small talk, just honesty. Later, watching strangers admire her work, Emma realized clay had been her bridge. Not by erasing anxiety, but by giving her hands something to do while her heart caught up. Will had spun her forward, one imperfect rotation at a time. Emma's hands trembled, not from Seattle's drizzle, but from weight of 45 years spent shrinking into corners, dodging small talk like landmines. Yet here she stood, wedged between a folding table of glazed mugs and a poster screaming in Comic Sans. Her clay wheel, that stubborn beast she'd wrestled into submission every midnight for months, now sat center stage Community Center's annual arts fair. A skeptic in a flannel shirt, some guy who'd scoffed when she signed up, hovered near her booth, arms crossed. Woman ignored him. Instead, she focused on lump of clay spinning beneath her palms, cool and forgiving. One deep breath. Then her fingers pressed in, shaping ridges into something bold, something hers. A vase? A wonky abstract thing? Didn't matter. What mattered was quiet hum in her chest, unshakable vibe that said, "This is your voice." Then disaster. A flick of her wrist sent a rogue splatter of clay onto her cheek. Flannel guy snorted. Creator froze, then laughed.
Loud.
Unscripted. Sound startled her as much as crowd now clustering around her wheel. Someone snapped a photo. Another clapped. Suddenly, her booth was swarmed with folks pointing her pieces, asking prices, nodding like her lopsided bowls held secrets. By sunset, her entire collection had sold, even experimental ashtray that looked like a deflated balloon. Flannel guy? He bought 2 mugs, muttering about hidden talent, while avoiding eye contact. As she packed up, grease from community barbecue clinging to air, she caught her reflection in a glossy vase.
No trembling. No shadows.
Just a woman who'd spun fear into something solid. Her phone buzzed. Splattershot had gone viral in some local arts group. 45 and finally throwing punches, caption read. Emma smirked. Clay wheel, anxiety. Emma's hands trembled, not from Seattle's drizzle, but from years of dodging crowds, her pulse racing in grocery lines like a clay wheel spun too fast. Yet here she stood, 45 and stubborn, wedging her fears into a lump of earth. First attempts collapsed.
So did second.
But by third, muscle memory kicked in, centering clay mirrored centering self. Each rotation smoothed edges, inside and out. Months later, her odd habit of whispering to pots paid off. Glazed bowls piled up, their imperfections celebrated like laugh lines. When a local gallery announced a community exhibition, Emma's gut lurched. But she registered anyway, bribing courage with promises of post-show berry cobbler. Opening night, strangers lingered by her pieces, a teal vase with thumbprint waves, mugs shaped like awkward hugs. One woman traced a crackled glaze, murmuring, "Feels like my life, but prettier." Emma grinned. No more hiding behind kiln fumes. She guided hesitant newcomers, her once shaky hands steadying theirs. By summer, her backyard hosted monthly clay and barbecue nights. Neighbors arrived with marinades and misgivings, leaving with lopsided pinch pots and new confidences. Even Dave from 3B, who'd once hidden behind grill smoke, now boasted about his soulful ashtray. Emma's will kept turning, spinning solitude into solidarity. That teal vase? Displayed proudly in library, a silent cheerleader for anyone needing proof that cracks hold light. Shape your fear. Fire it into courage.